Welcome to Keep Going. I'm Papa Bruce, and the purpose of my video, my channel, is to maybe address some of the concerns that some of us older folks have about hiking and being able to keep going and keep hiking. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about, well, when I entered my 7th decade, I found that fewer and fewer of my friends could continue to hike, or felt they could continue to hike and backpack, but I don't want to quit. So I decided to go ahead and try to figure out ways that I could continue to do what I enjoy doing. I split my time between Montana and Arizona, so a lot of the videos that we're going to be doing are going to be between those two areas. In Montana, in the summertime, my wife Debbie and I are fortunate enough to host at a campground near the Bitterroot Stairway Wilderness, where I've spent a lot of time over the years traveling, backpacking, horse packing, just enjoying the outdoors. And here in Arizona, where we are now, in the winter, I volunteer in the Superstition Mountains, and again have been able to get out and enjoy the outdoors and try to keep on hiking. I feel that there are 4 different things that I look at to be able to keep doing what I really enjoy doing. One, I've discovered that I have to go slower. I can't rush to the next campsite like I used to find myself doing. And being able to go slower, or going slower, I've been able to see so much more. This last season hiking, I was able to run into some of these guys, and they're very interesting. It's what you expect to see in the desert, but to be able to take the time and really observe them was quite a treat. A few weeks later, when I was hiking again in the Superstition Mountains, I ran into one of these guys, and these guys are super unusual. I talk to people that have hiked out here in this area for many years. They've never run into the Gila monster, so it was a treat to run into this guy. And a few weeks later, I saw another one. The key to spotting all of this is going slower. Rather than watch the tops of my feet as I hiked along, like I used to when I was in a hurry, I was able to concentrate on the trail ahead of me and see what lays ahead, and also the scenery around me. So, the biggest thing is going slower, or one of the biggest things. And then the next thing that I look at is trying to go lighter. I remember back in the day carrying a 40-50 pound pack, and pretty much everything I owned was in the darn pack to go backpacking. Now my goal is to go lighter. I certainly don't consider myself a super ultralight camper, but I am conscious on what I carry and try to keep my weight down. That might mean from moving from back in the day, an old Coleman stove that used gasoline that I carried with me, up to the typical pressurized stoves now, or even an alcohol or wood burning stove. And I've made most of this stuff myself, and here on YouTube you're going to be able to see all sorts of examples and how-to videos on how to make your gear, and I highly recommend you check out some of that. And as we do some of our hikes, we're going to look into some of the things that I've been able to do and make, and ideas I picked up from various YouTube channels. Secondly, or thirdly, I guess the third item I look at is comfort. Does that cost me weight-wise? Yeah, it does. But it pays off in the long run. It ties in with going slower, maybe not going lighter, but going slower and being more comfortable. And in the next, or later on in this video, I'm actually going to, this is one of my chairs, a backpacking chair. It cost me, I look at that as a cost, $2 or £2. It's something that I picked up inexpensively on the internet, and we're going to talk more about that. So comfort to me is important. Here in the Arizona wilderness, as we are going to be this winter in some of these videos, I'll have a totally different camp and pack gear than I might have had or would have in Montana in the summertime. You know, finally, the last thing that I like to stress and I really actually enjoy is trying to find inexpensive equipment. A lot of the stuff that I have found, I've found online at Craigslist, OfferUp, Let Go. A lot of the internet websites, I guess you'd call them, that have people where they sell various items, and I've been able to find some outstanding gear at a pretty low price. Also yard sales. Here's a tent I picked up. It's a Tech Sport camouflage trail tent. A real cheapie. Well, as you'll see later on in this video, it's exactly what I used on a recent hike up into the Superstition Mountains to an area of the mountains called the Garden Valley. This darn thing, after I got rid of the heavy tent stakes that came with it and got rid of the tent poles and instead used my hiking sticks, came in at 2 pounds, and it was pretty darn roomy. It's certainly not very durable. It's certainly not something we would want to use in a storm or in the winter or all seasons, but it was a pretty good buy for $5. We'll look at that here in just a few minutes. So, since most of us that are my age, or probably even younger, are on somewhat of a fixed income, trying to shop and find some inexpensive items, I think, are important. And that affords me the opportunity to have the equipment to be able to enjoy backpacking. So, last week I took a hike up into in the Superstition Mountains. Actually, the trailhead was the First Water Trailhead, for those of you that want to look at the maps. And we proceeded up the second water trail to an area called Garden Valley. And that's where I spent the night. I was basically wanting to see how this cheap tent worked and see how the chairs worked and just to get out for the nighttime. So let's take a look at some of the footage I shot then. And then in a bit I'll tell you about what's next. Check this out. Well, I'm up in Garden Valley at this point, and I'll just pan around here to give you an idea of what it looks like. It's a big flat area. They call it a valley, but we definitely had to go up to get here. And that's the trail that I came in on right there. And behind that big cactus, you see that mound, and that used to be an Indian village or area where they lived at one time, a long time ago. And sometimes you find some pottery shards up there. But up between that, that's the direction I'm going to go and set up camp. So we'll see you there. It's certainly a nice flat area. And I think we'll move a couple of those rocks out of the way, and it'll be a good spot to set up our camp for this evening. So once I get this tent set up, I'll show you what it's like. Well, here he is, all set up, and I'm pretty amazed the room in this thing, and it went up pretty darn easy. You can see the strap or the line on the side. I just have hooked to a tree on this side and then staked down on this side, and using the hiking poles as the poles to hold it up. But this thing must be, I don't know, 4 by 7 or 8. And I'll see if we can get a shot through the screen inside, but there's lots of room in this thing. And I put a little piece of tarp I carry to sit on out in front. But I think it's going to work out real well. I certainly wouldn't use it for a 3-season, but for out here, the desert, where we know it's not going to be raining, unfortunately, it should work just fine. Probably don't need it, but it helps keep the wind off, maybe a little bit warmer, because it will get a little chilly tonight. But there you have it. Another good buy from the yard sale. $5, and I think it's going to work out just fine. We'll get unpacked and look at the inside in a little while. Tent set up, as I said. I got the bedroll inside, sleeping bag and everything. And I'll show you my comfort item, the chair. Now this is definitely not in my ultra light or even light pack. However, my total pack weight, not counting the water, but including food just for tonight and tomorrow, was around 20 pounds, so it wasn't too bad. But this chair is about 2 pounds. Again, I found it online, actually. It was in the factory packages, but it came from an individual person. I paid 20 bucks. You can find these online. Look at the YouTube videos and you'll see all sorts of them. It's one of the Chinese imports. It's a rip-off of one of the better US companies. But I brought this out day packing just the other day and sat there for my lunch, and I tell you what, it makes all the difference in the world. Because as you can see around here, there's no logs. A few rocks maybe, but no place really good to sit. And I, at my age, as an old fogey, like to have a little bit of comfort as well. And I think it actually helps you hike better because you can relax more. So I just wanted to show you that chair. And at this point, it's around 1 in the afternoon. Probably time to have a snack and sit in the chair and maybe doze off. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing that part of the Garden Valley. I like that area. As I said, it's only a couple miles in. So it's a great place for me to get away and try to test some of the equipment that I found that I'm using in store for longer hikes. The next hike I'm going to take will be the entire length of the Dutchman Trail in the Superstition Mountains. Now, the entire length for me, well, it's a long hike for me. It's about 20 miles. For most people, it's certainly not. Some of you probably even day hike 20 miles, or maybe make 2 nights out of it. But I'm going to spend 3 nights, 4 days out there. So I will be able to enjoy it and to just take my time and keep going. Until then, Puff Bruce. See you later.